My name is Zev Friedman. I direct Cooperate WNC, a mutual aid network supporting community-owned climate resilience. This is me as a boy surrounded by freshly harvested kudzu roots. I grew up and started Kudzu Culture Cooperative to use kudzu and restore ecosystems. In my life, I've discovered the most purpose when I'm working at the place where human communities meet ecosystems, like in our cooperative farm here in my community. And I think the only effective climate responses will be community owned, not top down. One of these responses is silvopasture. Trees planted as part of pasture sequester the most carbon of any farming system, including accounting for the methane from the animals. There are over 200,000 acres of degraded pasture in Western North Carolina, where I live, to convert this way. The barriers to widespread adoption are social and economic, and the barriers between our ears. Speaking of ears, that's my dad with Einstein. My family values intellectual achievement. I have to work to marry my brain with my heart. Hands-on practice with science and theory. Old cultural patterns put together in new ways. When I told my grandmother I was going into agroecology, she said, "Oh, so you just want to dig holes for a living." That is part of it. And there I am with a giant kudzu root that I dug up. But I described permaculture to my grandmother as a design system for creating sustainable human habitat. By mimicking nature, we can sequester carbon, grow better food, address inequity and oppression, and create livelihoods and healthy community. I also live at Earthhaven Eco Village, my own best training ground in permaculture and mutual aid, where we have an intergenerational community of about 100 people learning to cooperate and take care of each other from birth to death, share resources, and manage land together. So in my career, I've sought to work at this unique leverage point, the confluence of ecosystems, human learning, culture, and cooperative economics. This was a permaculture in action class that we did in 2011 to 2013, training folks in permaculture skills through implementing plans on real projects like this one. In permaculture, the water systems, tree crops, animals, plants, buildings, and energy systems fit together like organs in a body, feeding and supporting each other. We plan for nuts harvested in 100 years by people we'll never know, but that takes social and economic support systems for the long game. So by doing this for 13 years, I've discovered the weak link in permaculture or agroecology systems is the human element. Our society is so broken and unjust that we don't have the intergenerational transfer or the healthcare or the emotional and economic support systems to help people take care of complex agroforestry systems like silvopasture that are needed to regenerate the earth. So in 2016, I was reading this guy, Kropotkin, his extensive examples of how ecosystems and human cultures actually rely more on cooperation than on competition for survival. And I said, we need to apply this to agroforestry and climate resilience. The same year, I had the privilege of visiting Mixteca people in the village of Yucuyoko, Oaxaca, seeing them reforesting their landscape with 700,000 trees per year using traditional mutual aid work sharing and cooperative financing. And that's the idea of this organization I've helped to found, Cooperate WNC. It's a mutual aid network where we take care of each other and develop community power so we can do the work of earth and community healing in these times. There's an incredible history of US mutual aid societies to learn from, mostly in immigrant and marginalized communities. I think of this process as creating cultural topsoil, just like literal topsoil. Cooperative culture and trust can quickly erode, but they take a lot of work and time to regrow. We can regrow cultural topsoil and put carbon back in the ground at the same time. One of the ways we're doing this is through a purchasing cooperative. Like the Community Purchasing Alliance in Washington, D.C., we coordinate communities to bulk purchase food, solar panels, PPE, to save money and support value-aligned businesses while building up steam for rural mutual aid community centers. We just completed a bulk purchase of outdoor heaters to help restaurants stay open through the winter. Another mutual aid practice we're supporting is savings pools, where groups of 15 to 25 people who know each other save and loan money to each other for debt relief, business startups, buying land, or other needs. Relational economics like this create long-term accountability to each other instead of transactional dog-eat-dog economics. This can lead to community-owned banking. Credit unions in the US came out of the mutual aid movement in the early 1900s. We're working to get local credit unions investing in transformative climate resilient projects and ultimately to start a WNC mutual aid credit union. Imagine the power if we can invest that money in regenerative community projects. We're also scheming on cooperative holistic healthcare, like Cooperative Home Care Associates in the Bronx, the largest worker-owned co-op in the US, which trains over 600 low-income women each year to provide home care services. We have an intro webinar on the topic of cooperative healthcare. Also, end-of-life care and burial, another traditional part of historical mutual aid societies, has been bringing meaning, beauty, and community to the death and dying processes. This can also be intimately related to land conservation and provide income streams for communities that manage common land. And then finally, of course, our carbon harvest program, which is working through cooperative pathways like the savings pools and our purchasing co-op to support farmers in converting to climate resilient agroforestry methods like silvopasture and restoring degraded streamside ecosystems. All of this brings me back to my own home, a tiny taste of renewed cultural topsoil that we've accumulated here at the fertile edge between people and the earth, and the hope that if we reach deeply enough into our imagination during this time, we can make it about healing and cooperation rather than just collapse and suffering. Thank you.